Hey, everybody. What a week. What a week. What a month. Oh, so much to get through. Recapping a bunch of stuff. And there's so much news that I can't even cover it all. So I'll talk to some of it, but we'll talk about the huge week we had. Van Eck coming out with the $180,000 Bitcoin target. We have the resignation of Gary Gensler, which means altcoin season could kick off. We'll look at some data around that. And we'll look at a whole bunch of Bitcoin black hole data too. It's crazy. What else? You got Schwab looking at Bitcoin. You got Saylor probably buying 3 billion this weekend. Bitcoin is down now, by the way. It needs to be down so the market makers can keep the price down so they can fill their boots. That's how it works. Crypto market cap is $3.4 trillion. Volume, $212 billion. We haven't seen these numbers in a long time. Fear and greed, 93, and so much more. We'll also dig into identifying using R ratios, which have worked incredibly well for me since 2021. The most overvalued and undervalued cryptos. We'll look at some macro, some AI, scaling. It's bonkers. And the importance sometimes of hodling and why people are bitter, especially when they're missing out on life-changing gains. I've seen a lot of bitterness out there. A lot of FUD. Anyhow, let's get into it. Not financial advice. Thank you, Sean Donnelly and Team Dazzler for coming. And this is not financial advice, just a guy on the internet. And thank you to everybody on Patreon. First of all, let's talk about the elephant in the room. And that is Bitcoin. Let's look at the speedometers. Here, this is a cool thing from Swissblock. And I'm trying to blow up the screen. There we are. Yes. You can see we are clearly still in Bitcoin season. The bullish momentum is in full swing. There is zero risk. Rock solid fundamentals are all firmly established. And the bullish landscape literally is crazy. The future is bright. And we're basically at $100,000, which is bonkers. I know there's a little bit of a sell wall there, but I'm still optimistic we could smash through that tonight. I mean, not tonight, but by Sunday night, early Monday morning. We shall see. Now, what else is going on? We have a company called Charles Schwab, a $7 trillion asset management giant. They are preparing to enter the Bitcoin and crypto spot markets under the emerging regulations. And this will bring significant institutional capital and further validate the cryptocurrency space. Remember, Schwab is 7 trillion. Blackrock is 11 trillion. Fidelity's 4 trillion. Schwab is a heavyweight. And this is a major milestone on rubber stamping the global acceptance of crypto when they are in the party. Also, the biggest ETF week ever. This week, God, I can't remember what week. We started in January 11th. It's day 221. I know that. It was yesterday. But the largest weekly net inflows since launch, $3.38 billion. And who is behind that? Have a guess. BlackRock continue to stack. And it was a $3.4 billion week, by the way, by my math. 3.38 here. So give or take a little bit. We shall see, but it's massive. BlackRock adds another huge chunk of Bitcoin. They purchased 4,732 Bitcoin since last Friday per Cointelegraph. The most important part of this one, though, is what Matt says here below. I keep comparing the amount of Bitcoin I think ETFs, governments, and corporations will buy in 2025 compared to the amount of new Bitcoin being mined every day, and it's crazy. And yes, 20x what's being mined is being absorbed. 20x. This crunch is going to happen. 2025 is going to be off the hook. That's why Van Eck says Bitcoin could go to 180 grand, which is 60,000 higher than my target. So if it happens, we'll take it. I'm okay with that. I'm very happy to be wrong on that one. And remember, I sandbag everything because I don't want people to come back and say, oh, you said this, whatever. So I put a lot of margin in my stuff. Anyway, 5 big days in a row. You can see here on the chart, the big smiley face of the actual money flow. The biggest chunk of money flowed into these ETFs since day 200. We are 21 days in, and billions and billions of dollars have flown into these Bitcoin ETFs. And 35 35,200 Bitcoin were bought this week alone. 35,200. Only 450 are issued a day. This is insane, ladies and gentlemen. I can't stress this enough. It's bonkers. The ETFs are beyond my wildest imagination. My forecast before they even came out for the first year, we have completely smoked my predictions. Anyhow, a lot of what's driving a lot of excitement too is this. This is from the Kabasi letter. Basically, breaking news. Prediction markets are now pricing in a 62% chance of a DT creating a national Bitcoin reserve by 2026. And the odds were 2 weeks ago were 40%. So there is crazy reports that he is setting up a crypto advisory council, and this will set up a Bitcoin strategic reserve. We're not sure how big it's going to be, but also considering Gary Gensler is out and they're looking at a pro-crypto lawyer, I think Teresa Guyen is her name, but Bitcoin adoption is in the future. This is, I mean, if you've been in Bitcoin for a long time, there has been no year as special as 2024. So thank you all for being here, everybody. We made it. WAGME. No WAGME anymore. It's just WMI. We made it, ladies and gentlemen. But there's more. And this one is from Stockmoney Lizards. This is, I touched on stablecoins last week and even yesterday. But in the past 3 weeks alone, Tether added $10 billion in market cap. I'll repeat that. 10 billion in 3 weeks. And you know what that means? Yeah. This is money that's going to come into crypto and pump it even further. And the Normies are even starting to buy stables with fiat in order to jump on the train that is leaving the station. Literally, everything is breaking records. I'm going to show you so many different records that are smashed in this recap video. And this is crazy. This should be at the end, but somehow it snuck in here. But we'll talk about it because you've got a lot of Canadians and Australians. But what the hell is going on in Canada and Australia? This could be seen by many as a real estate debt bubble. And if you look at the history, okay, you go back to, say, 2000, the US is exactly where it was in terms of the amount of household debt to disposable income. But now, if you look at Australia and Canada, it's off the charts. Both following each other very closely and both double what the US is. All right? This is maybe in these two economies a debt bubble. Or maybe their fiat is tanking very hard, which it is, and it's making real estate very expensive, making it hard for young people, especially to buy their first castle. Anyway, back to Bitcoin business. This one from Bitcoin Archive, Archie. Thank you for all the work you do as well. MicroStrategy has raised MicroStrategy has raised $9.6 billion. In November alone, and we're only 20 days in. 23 days, actually. But that's more than all the spot ETFs combined. Remember, when MicroStrategy comes in, they do big smash buys all at once. Okay? And this $3 billion smash buy is incoming. He got the money. He's spending it right now as we speak. And $100,000 Bitcoin Magazine is going to happen very soon for Bitcoin. $3 billion. On top of this, 35,200 Bitcoin bought this week. By the way, if you calculate rough back of the napkin math, it's easy when Bitcoin's nearly 100,000. But when you're spending $3 billion, you're going to get about 30,000 Bitcoin. That's on top of the ETFs buying 35,200 Bitcoin this week. That's 65,000 Bitcoin. Where's it coming from? That's what I want to know. And as Saylor says, friend of the channel, we're going to need a bigger rocket. A lot of rockets. And Saylor, of course, is an aeronautical engineer, so he understands rockets and space and engines and the laws of thermodynamics. And as a result, Bitcoin too. And so does Elon Musk, by the way. You notice a pattern here? Smart people like Bitcoin. Huh. Amazing. Anyhow, Bitcoin proxies are also doing very well this week. This is from Mark Harvey. Semler up 43%. Yes, I'd be in Semler, only they don't have any options, sadly. MicroStrategy 24%. Marathon 23%. Metaplanet 35%. Core Scientific 15%. Tesla 10%. Block up 9%. Cleanspark up 8% for the week, but they also added nearly 14% on Friday alone. We'll talk more about that later with some TA as well. Marathon, big snack, just like Michael Saylor incoming. Another smash buy. They bought 5,771 Bitcoin so far at about 95.5 per Bitcoin. By the way, that's why the market makers push it down so these guys can fill their boots. Remember, Marathon mines about 720 Bitcoin a month by my calculations, and they are buying more. And they're holding everything. Now they have nearly 34,000 in HODL, which makes up precisely 40% of their market cap. Right now, as you speak, literally 40% is their HODL bag, which is massive. And Cleanspark ended the week strong, which is good. The miners have been smashed throughout the summer, but Cleanspark ended up 16% yesterday, Friday, from unusual whales, which is nice. But the most interesting thing about Cleanspark is this. Could this happen? This is from Mr. Chart Norris. This is the cup and handle forming the handle. And we all know what happens after you do that. Things tend to skyrocket. The question is, how far, how high will we go? And per his targets, it could be $19, it could be $24.70. Either way, we shall see. We do know they're issuing stock to buy rigs, to scale their hash, to mine more Bitcoin. And now it's okay because they're making profit. I estimate their cost to mine is about $62,000 a Bitcoin. And they're hodling. They're not selling it. If they were, they'd make a lot of profit. But imagine what would happen when they start selling at $120,000 Bitcoin. Lots of profit will be made. $60,000 per Bitcoin, I believe. Now, Hashrate, however, is going parabolic. You can see here absolute parabolic hash rate from Coin Wars. I could have shared the Tabby chart, but this is easier to grab. So I did. We're at nearly 800 exahash, which is crazy. Anybody with old, inefficient mining rigs like Hut, etc., they're going to struggle with the inefficiency of their rigs, especially with this type of hash. Let's talk about AltSeason. I did hint on that, the fact that Gary Gensler is bye-bye. Everybody send him bye-bye. The enemy of the crypto state, you could say. But you can see here, AltSeason creeping up. On his exit, literally 3 days ago, when he said, or he was resigning, alts pumped. Even the crappiest of ones all pumped, because every like XRP, etc., all did really well. Let's see what's going on in the marketplace in terms of narratives. This is over the last month. I share this every week in the recap, and it's a good view of the world. You can see here, Ethereum up 35% for the month, Bitcoin 46.7% for the month, and store of value coins 136.3%. And right beside that is Gen 1 smart contract platforms. Layer 1s, 133%, did really well. And they have surpassed meme coins. Woohoo. This is the time, and I'm going to spend a lot of time today talking about the amount of money that these Generation 1 smart contract platforms, Layer 1s, whatever you want to call them, are making right now. It's insane. Bonkers. And this brings us to this story. Shout out to Sanjay as well for sharing. This is from Artemis. The question is, should Solana be trading at a 70% discount to ETH, given that Sol ETH is at all-time highs? The market has repriced Sol 10x relative to ETH over the past few years, and Sol is up 25x since December 22 low. ETH is up 1.7x. Guess which train this community was on? You guessed it. Anyway, getting into this prompted me to dig into a whole bunch of statistics that we have from our models, which are very interesting. But before we get into that, let's talk about all the stuff that's exploding on this chain, this mythical chain called Solana. Well, Phantom is now the #1 free utility app in the App Store. It was #2 last week. Now it's #1. That's how fast crypto is going. It is absolutely exploding. I was hoping in 2025, 2026 to get to 1 billion users on crypto. At this rate, we could get there in 2025. It'd be crazy. And what's doing a lot of this is the memes from Solana Floor. Solana sees a record-breaking 77,000 tokens deployed in a single day. Mostly meme coins. Just imagine that. 77,000 new tokens. I used to say 98% of crypto is a scam. Then I went to 99%. Then I went to 99.5%. Now it's probably 99.9%. So just be careful out there. Remember, you got to be in now the top 0.1% of assets. The rest is garbage. Another piece from Artemis is this. This is the amount of drainage into what I call the black hole over the last 90 days. The drainage from the ETH and L2s to Solana. Everything, all the capital is leaving the Ethereum blockchain on its layer 2s. And it's moving over nearly 1.3 billion just in the last 90 days to Solana blockchain. Because that's where the action is. And ETH, shockingly enough, this is very shocking. ETH is not even in a top 5 protocol anymore by 24-hour fees. Top of the list, Tether, then Solana's Jito, then Solana, then Solana's Radium, then Athena is there as well. And then Ethereum, bottom of the list. So it is, too slow, too expensive. That's the simple answer. DEX volumes, ETH versus L2s. Again, Solana has smoked ETH and all the L2s. That's the pink line is Solana, ETH and L2s is purple. It's just dying. It's too slow, too expensive. It's not going to work. And people who are investing, they need speed and they need precision. Very important. And fees, another view of the fees. Again, Solana smokes ETH and all the L2s. There was a huge spike there in ETH. I don't know what caused that a month or so ago, a few weeks ago. But now the Solana is completely smoking them. And this is one of the key 60 stats I look at, ratios. I love ratios and ratios and ratios. But this is the fully diluted market cap divided by daily transactions per chain. And the most expensive chain out there today is Cardano at $351,000 per transaction. That's the amount of market cap that Cardano has for every transaction they process. Number 2 most expensive chain is Stacks, $339,000 per transaction. Number 3 is Ethereum, $312,000. And number 4 is Polkadot, $268,000 per transaction. This is not sustainable, especially when Solana's down around 2,000 and other names there. So the deltas, the factors of difference in amount of market cap per transaction is absolutely insane for these chains. They will come back down to earth because this, as a finance guy, this is not logical. Sorry if I offended your chain, but we're all about data here, so who cares? And here's a bunch more. This is the fees today, or in the last 24 hours, per chain. Solana's now doing 11 million in daily fees. ETH, 5.6 million. Bitcoin, 1.8 million. Binance, 622,000. Base, 311,000. Remember, Base is not a blockchain that you can buy, so don't buy anything fake out there. And then Sui, 82,000. There is one chain that's running away. It does double the ETH fees 6 times Bitcoin. And again, winner takes most. You've heard it here 1,000 times. Vindicated. And here we are as well. This is another one that goes into how undervalued the blockchain is by far. Another statistic I look at, this is the fully diluted market cap divided by daily fees. 14,000 is the dollar amount for Solana. It is the cheapest by far. ETH is number 2 at 72,000. Matic number 3 at 131,000. Matic not doing too bad. Binance 154,000 and on and on. You can see down the bottom we have ICP 88 million. Flow 506 million. It just gets kind of really wonky. Cardano 1.6 million. Again, yeah. It's just ratios. I can give you any one of 60 ratios so you can make up your own mind. But gravity wins in the end. That's, what is it, the old expression? Over time, the markets are a weighing machine. That's why we look at data. Tells us what's happening. Talk about some stocks. Tesla, superchargers. There was a lot of talk during 2024 that they were scaling back their supercharger infrastructure. Well, that's not true. This is from Nick Cruz. Tesla says in the next 18 months, there'll be more V4 superchargers than V3. And these V4 superchargers can charge a Cybertruck like 300 miles in 15 minutes. So enough time to get a tea or coffee, whatever your preference is. And speaking of AI, Amazon is investing another $4 billion into Anthropic. That's OpenAI's biggest rival. I think XAI will be the biggest rival for all of them. But anyway, huge, huge investments. Massive money still flowing into AI. AI is very real, and AGI is coming. So be prepared. And I mentioned this last week. It was funny. Somebody shared it in the community on Patreon. Thank you for that, by the way. But I did say, I think it was last week in the Q&A, that sometimes there are people who are bad investors. There are sometimes people that have a bag of something. I think I was referring to Chamath and how he regretted selling his Bitcoin. He'd have billions if he kept it. Anyhow, doesn't matter. But if Bill Gates held onto his original Microsoft shares, he would be worth $1.47 trillion. Okay? 1.47 trillion. He'd be the richest man on the planet by nearly a factor of 5. Instead, he decided to do things like take his money, sell his Microsoft shares, and do things like short Tesla and make stupid investments and still lose money. In fact, he said he'd short Bitcoin if he could, if he found it easy. He would have lost everything. It would have been a joy to watch. Anyway, sorry about that gleeful moment there. And sadly, Americans have record credit card debt. The amount of debt is now $1.17 trillion in debt. And much of this is at over 20% interest rate. The average balance for an American is now over $10,000 and growing by 20% per year. This is a real problem, everybody. Be very, very careful if you have debt. And last piece of great news for the day, and on a positive note, mainstream media, the people that lie to you, are dying or dead. This is a survey from Newark University of Chicago. How often do you read the newspaper? The people that read it every day has gone from 70% down to 12%. And the rest you can see is just tanking. But what's really important, the people that never read a newspaper is now nearly 60%. So now, one of my dreams for 2024 is for the truth to come out. It's happening. The stronghold of convincing people about lies is about to die. Makes me very happy. Love it. Thank you all for coming. Hit the like if you like the content or learned something new. Thank you to the 5,000 people watching live. Thank you as well to Teen Tesla and Sean Donnelly. See you all tomorrow for the live Q&A. As usual, really tricky questions. The top things that are occupying people's mind this week and into the future. How they should plan, how they should allocate, what's next, how big, how high can we go, and so much more. So thank you all for coming. I appreciate you all for being here. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.